Good evening and welcome to the next installment of Meet the Leaders. I am your host, Jerry McPherson, Director of Economic Empowerment for the Greater Phoenix Urban League, and we have a phenomenal broadcast ahead of you today. We have a star-studded lineup for one of our professional sports teams that are doing great things in the community that we're here to tell you all about. We have Xavier Gutierrez, President and CEO for the Arizona Coyotes Hockey Club. Also joining Javier will be Nadia Rivera, Chief Impact Officer and Executive Director of the Foundation and Community Impact for the Arizona Coyotes. We also have Kwame Damon Mason, NHL Consultant and Film Director of NHL Bound, which is a phenomenal program that you're going to hear all about in just a bit. And last but not least, we'll have Dr. Mark Clifford, Director of the DREAM Program for Position Sports. Before we get started, if you are familiar with the broadcast, you know what I'm about to say. If you're unfamiliar with the broadcast, we got a little bit of housekeeping we need you to do. Please like, comment, and share. Let the world know that you are with us. We want to get as many people to this broadcast as possible, and you can do just a bit to help us meet that goal and sharing it with your network so as many people can learn all about the things that the Arizona Coyotes are doing in the community and how they can get involved and engaged with the community as well. Just a couple of points. Firstly, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in the world and all those who are celebrating their moms. We are at the Greater Phoenix Urban League are celebrating all of the moms and work moms and co-workers that have done a great job to lead our next generation of leaders in our community. And lastly, our annual golf tournament, it is one of our two key fundraisers to raise funds to support the various programs that we are running here at the Greater Phoenix Urban League. And that golf tournament is coming up on May the 27th. Feel free to reach out to us, gphxul.org, to learn more information about the annual golf tournament, which I believe is our 27th. So looking forward to your participation. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce the President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Urban League, President George Dean. George, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Jerry. And let me echo what you just said in terms of welcome everyone that's watching this particular broadcast. You know, since we came on last, there have been several significant things that have taken place in our country, including the fact that we have the first Black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court that's been elevated to the Supreme Court. She's been voted on and will take her seat as soon as Justin Bride retire later on this year. It took 232 years, 116 justices, 108 white men, 6 women, 2 Black men, and 1 Latino woman later to finally get Ketanji Brown Jackson as a member of the U.S. Supreme Court. So we are very proud of that. Another significant thing that has taken place most recently has been the National Urban League releasing the State of Black America. And the theme for this year's State of Black America is Under Siege, the Plot to Destroy Democracy. Factions of state and federal lawmakers working in concerts with shady political operatives and violent extremists are dangerously close to dismantling American democracy and establishing autocratic rule. And the report outlines the conspiracy and urgent case for a national mobilization to protect and defend our most sacred constitutional right. Under siege, the plot to destroy democracy. This is very important. So if you want to read about that and get that report and all, you can get it on your computer and go to www.nul.org and find out about it, because that is so very important. And tonight, with this broadcast tonight, we have something very important taking place. We have four major sports, that being the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and the National Hockey League. Those are four sports that we have in this country that, we have more sports than that, but those are the four professional leagues that we have that is very popular with the American people. And we are very pleased to have as our guest this evening Xavier Gutierrez, the president and CEO of the Arizona Hockey Club, and the folks that he has brought along with him. And we're going to talk about something very significant that's taken place as far as minorities and people of color are concerned, especially as far as the hockey club is concerned. So this is going to be a very, very interesting, and we're going to find out more about the Arizona Coyotes and what they are about and the kind of steps that they've made. I'm aware of it myself, and I said we got to let the folks know, Javier, what's going on as far as this is concerned. So here we are on Meet the Leaders, and I'm looking forward to it, along with Kwame Mason and Dr. Mark Clifford and Nana Rivera that's going to help us with that. So with that, let's get started with the conversation. And Jerry, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, George. And as mentioned, we'll get right into the broadcast. I would like to introduce the first and only Latino executive in the National Hockey League, the president and CEO of the Arizona Coyotes Hockey Club, Xavier Gutierrez.
Good evening, Jerry. Thank you so very much. And I really want to start by thanking both you and George, my dear friends, for your leadership in this community. When we first had a chance to meet, I invited you guys into a hockey game, and you guys got all animated seeing us play. But I think what we all shared is around a vision of empowering this community, and in particular, empowering the diverse components of this community, the Latino community, the African American community, those communities that really need to be welcomed fully into everything that not only we do as the Coyotes, but that this entire valley is involved with. And I immediately took to not only what you all are doing, but clearly the Urban League and the message that the Urban League has around the issue in particular of economic empowerment, which is a very near and dear passion of mine as someone who really didn't come from sports. I came from finance and investment and private equity, and in particular focused on diverse communities. And so I just really want to thank you all for what you do. Obviously, we are here to support all of your efforts. And it starts with these types of things, right? These types of conversations around the importance of diverse communities. As you mentioned, I take great honor and great pride in being the first Latino presidency in the history of the National Hockey League. Walking in the footsteps as well of a trailblazer, and Alex Morello, the first Latino owner in the history of the National Hockey League when he bought the Arizona Coyotes in 2019. And, the first thing that both Alex and I, and we've known each other for well over a decade, we're actually business partners in the largest Latino-owned bank in California. One of the things we said is we wanted to make a difference and an impact. And that's, I think, what resonated when we first talked, Jerry, and we first talked, George, is that everything that we are doing, yes, we want to win and we want to bring a Stanley Cup to the Valley, but we want to stand for more than winning. We want to use the power of the voice that sports allows us to really make a difference in people's lives, and in particular into the lives of diverse communities all around us. And so very excited for this conversation. We can take it in so many directions, but really there's some great things that I want to share. That's why we invited a couple other folks to join this conversation. And I'll pass it along back to you, Jerry.
Javier, thank you so much for the introduction, as well as kind of giving us the lay of land of what the Arizona County Coyotes have planned to do coming into the Valley. So you've been doing great work thus far. We're looking forward to the continued partnership with Arizona Coyotes, as well as all the other organizations that you've been working closely with. Next, I would like to introduce Nadia Rivera, who is the Chief Impact Officer and Executive Director of the Foundation and Community Impact of the Arizona Coyotes. Nadia, welcome to the broadcast.
Hello, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having us. So I am the Chief Impact Officer and Executive Director of the Foundation. I was hockey is not sports is not my background. I couldn't hit a ball if was going to save my life. But the reason I'm here is after a conversation with Javier. My background is in philanthropy and community impact. It was really inspirational to hear his vision on how sports can really, make a difference in the lives of my Latinos, our community, and that's really my passion. My passion is helping my community, making sure that no one gets left behind. And so I'm a bleeding heart, and Javier is too. And so our job here is to build what he calls an impact enterprise. And we can talk a little bit more about what that means later on. But I'm extremely proud and humbled and excited to be here at the front lines with an organization that's at the front lines of making quite a bit of difference in not only in hockey as a sport, but really across Arizona.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Mark Clifford, the Director of the Dream Project for Position Sports. Mark, welcome to the broadcast.
Okay.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I just want to echo both what Javier and Nadia has spoken about, which is really impacting our community. And so my background, I spent 20 years in the Air Force serving others. And then I went to Grand Canyon University, where I served others in a sport management position, and really looking across the industry, the sport management industry. There's a lack of diversity, and there's always been a lack of diversity. And how do you make impact, and how do you create change in something that's been systematically for another group? And there has been strides, and people are putting effort behind the things that we are saying. And it starts, like Javier said, with conversations such as these. But I think the difference that I'm seeing as I look across this industry, that there are pockets of people and pockets of organizations that are taking time to impact and put change into effect versus having conversations. And this is why we gravitated towards one another once Javier got on ground and Nadia got here as well. We've always had conversations, whether I was GCU or now Position Sports. But this program, as we get to a little bit more, is more about grabbing students from historically Black colleges and universities who are interested in this industry, and then finding ways to place them in this industry. And Nadia and Javier have been tremendous partners in putting action behind the words that we say in terms of change. So I'm really excited to be here and continue the conversation and look for ways to increase and impact our community. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mark, and we'll get into that conversation in just a moment. But first, we need to introduce Kwame Damon Mason, NHL consultant, as well as a film director of the NHL Bound.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm not going to take offense that as the Canadian, I'm the last one being introduced, but it's all good. Okay. So, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be amongst you all, a part of this great conversation. Just a little bit about myself. I was a radio announcer for 14 years. As we say in Canada, when you're born here or you immigrate here, the first thing they give you is a hockey stick. So I've been a fan of hockey ever since I've known myself, and I love this game. And the one thing that disturbed me throughout my life is that it wasn't as inclusive to people of color. And in 2015, or actually 2011, I embarked on a mission that changed my life, which was to make a documentary called Soul on Ice, Past, Present, and Future, which was about the history and contribution of Black athletes in the game of hockey. And it came out in 2015, and I'm proud to say it helped really start a different conversation in the world of hockey to allow us to talk about diversity and inclusion. And I always say it's inclusion more than diversity. And as my bio says, I was director of a great program called NHL Bound that the Phoenix Coyotes were great in responding and participating in. And I hope we get to talk a little bit about that. But I'm very honored to be here, and I'm really looking forward to having a great conversation.
Okay. Absolutely, Kwame. We are excited to talk about NHL Bound. So to affirm that, we'd like to talk to Javier about that. So NHL Bound is both a program as well as a documentary, and correct me if I misstate anything, that highlighted 2 African-American coaches and gave them an internship opportunity to coach with the Arizona Coyotes. So Javier, if you can, tell us a little bit about how this all came to fruition.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I made very clear when I took this role is that we were going to take very seriously the key pillars of our business plan. One, again, was impact, which is leveraging the power that and the voice of sports to really make a difference. The second was inclusion. And to us, inclusion is both bringing diverse voices to the seat of decision making, and it's also including every person in our community to be a part of everything that we're doing. I often say I would love to create hockey fans, but I'm more interested in creating Coyote fans. And that's because we're going to go out and reach out, and we're going to welcome you and be the door opener in your career. And then finally, our third pillar is innovation. Let's do it differently. And so I had a chance to actually have Kwame speak to our entire organization very early on after I joined to talk about his work in highlighting the Black experience in hockey that's often overlooked. And after our conversation, I asked him, I said, what else can we be doing? And he kind of looked at me like, are you serious? I said, yes, I am very serious. I sit in this role in large part because that's what I would like to do is to use this platform that we have to do things that really change and that really bring impact. And he said, well, I have this idea that I've pitched, but hasn't really gained traction. And the idea is to bring coaches, Black coaches, to coach with your team, with your coaching staff, and to follow them. And I said, that's a phenomenal idea. I said, I'm gonna call you back tomorrow. And I think he kind of looked at me askance and said, yeah, sure, whatever. And I called him literally the next day. I said, okay, we're set. He says, what do you mean we're set? I said, we're done. What do you want to do? And that really sparked this incredible journey for 2 young coaches who, are talented and all they need is an opportunity. So you have Dante, you have Nathaniel, one from the DC area and one up from Canada. And they came and they coached alongside NHL coaches in our preseason. And they got behind the bench. And what I loved about it was this wasn't performative. This was go coach. They actually had a chance to coach our final game. They were the leads in terms of skills and drills and trainings. And it was a real experience for them. And to that point, Kwame then followed and created this just incredible documentary called NHL Bound that you can actually find on ESPN Plus, which is a whole nother matter, right? We had this great effort, and we had this amazing film, and then we had to go pitch it to our partners who are constantly talking about how do we create stories that really show and welcome all communities and really people of color on ice. And we gave them this film, and even that was a bit of a struggle. But what I loved about this entire experience, one, again, it wasn't just words; it was putting them into action. Two, you really had a chance to meet and really get to know these two incredible coaches. My coaches, the best comment was they said, those guys are coaches. We will see them at the NHL level. This wasn't just, just go and move some cones around or bring some pucks or sticks. It was a real chance. And that's what it takes. It takes opening that door for you to then meet folks that should be in those seats. And then finally, this beautiful film that now has inspired, and Kwame can talk about it, a host of my colleagues across the NHL to do a very similar program. And that's what we wanted. We didn't want to be the first and only. We wanted to be the first, so it sparked others to do. And it's going to be a program we do every year. Next year, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but we're actually going to have 2 female coaches coach alongside. And so that's the whole point. How do you continue to bring diverse voices to the seat of decision making? And coaches and the impact that coaches make is just so incredible. And it's important to see diverse faces in those seats and in those chairs. And I know this is part and parcel of the vision that the Urban League has, not just here in Phoenix, but I came from Los Angeles. This conversation I had with them across industries. How do you open more doors? Because I have quoted a very dear friend of mine who's constantly said, talent knows no color or ethnicity or background or gender. Talent just needs opportunity. And that's what this program was really about. How can we give opportunity, and how can we begin the process of changing the face of hockey from within? And I think that is all the vision that we have, not just to make a difference in our community, but to make a difference in our industry. And those are the things that will really then make people feel very welcome. Again, how do we create fans in waiting that we know are out there and a pathway for them to be a part of the Arizona Coyotes? And so I'm very, very excited about that. And Kwame, I know you're chomping at the bit. That's his DJ experience coming out. Your thoughts on how it all came together and what's come from it.
Yeah, for me, again, being in this position, I literally made a position for myself within the National Hockey League, because there is nothing for a person like me as a director, person of color, coming in telling diverse stories. So my journey has always been an uphill battle. So like Javier said, like when he mentioned to me that he'd call me back and it sounded interesting and let's talk about it, I honestly did think, well, okay, here goes another person that's really just kind of listening and being polite about it. And I didn't take any stake in it, but to my pleasant surprise, the very next day he called me back and said, this is a go. And that's what I really want to hear. And this is what I really want to see in the National Hockey League, in hockey in general, is people that are in positions that will take bold steps to help grow the game. There's always these catchphrases in our society about growing and diversifying and expanding, but it only takes it really takes the truly brave to actually go out and do it, and to be the first, and be in a position where they potentially could fail. Like, we didn't know how it was going to turn out. It was a wing and a prayer, because we had to turn it around really quickly. And so it's one of those things where I was really happy that Javier and the rest of the staff embraced me to come in. And what was really great about this idea, in my opinion, and Javier touched on, doing things that are brand new. You don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. You want to do things that are innovative and things that people haven't seen. And one of the things that you haven't seen in the National Hockey League are people of color behind the benches. We have a few, but not many. And we need to grow that. And we need to show men of color of all backgrounds that this is a path that they can actually go on. And there's that old saying, if you can see it, you can be it. So what was great with having Nathaniel Brooks, who's from Canada, and Dante Abercrombie from DC, the United States, was you're seeing two guys who, like Javier said, weren't just picking up pucks and moving pylons. They were actually out there. Like the Coyotes literally allowed them to say, hey, go out and do your thing. Let's see what you got. And I think everybody was really surprised and happy to see that these guys were able to go in and really work with these players and really show what they got. Now, what this is going to do for the future of the game is going to allow coaches of color to say that there is an actual path for me. People are willing to listen to me, to see me, to give me an opportunity, give me a chance to show them what I got. And, you know, what's great, we are going to do a second one this year. We're going to have 2 female coaches come in and spend a week in Arizona at their development camp and work alongside the coaches, and we'll film it and we're going to put this out again. But the amazing part about this is that other teams are now doing this. So somebody has to be the first one to really step up and take the chance. And the Arizona Coyotes were that team, and I'm glad that we are, making a path for other teams to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, kudos to the both of you for your courage, for stepping out and taking the initiative. So I had the opportunity to watch the documentary over the weekend. So those in the audience, it's also available on YouTube. I have dropped the link in the chat, so it's on the NHL's official YouTube page. So I had a chance to consume it over the weekend, and just again, phenomenal work. And Javier, just one other point that I'd like to, I guess, acknowledge, with you being the first Latino and being groundbreaking in their own respect, you have the power, the influence, and the opportunity to kind of pay it forward with the groundbreaking work, and you took advantage of the opportunity and with this NHL Bound coaching internship program. So, salute to you for maybe doing your duty and carrying that opportunity forward.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate that, Jerry. But honestly, that's what the organization is standing for, right? We believe fundamentally that we have the opportunity to make impact. Right. And we're going to use the power of our voice, the power of our platform. And I'm sure Nadia will talk about this, but, this has been a program that Nadia, why don't you mention maybe a couple other things that came up from this?
Yeah. So thank you, Javier. So one of the neat things that's happening right now, the 4 professional sports teams here in Arizona are forming what we are calling the All Arizona Alliance. And so this is a group of the 4 major sports, professional sports teams here. And so we are working together to leverage our collective power and our collective voice to advance these types of issues, right, around DE&I. And so that takes many forms. It can be taking a stance on, some social issues, or working together to, get all 4 teams training. So it's going to take various forms. But one of the things that came out of this specific opportunity was that the Suns actually hosted us at their facility, their beautiful facility, to do the viewing of NHL Bound there. And it's just an example of how what one sports team does, what one leader and taking a chance does, is really affects not only hockey in this case, but the other sports team and how they lean in, right? We had one of their VPs of HR come down, and so she's been very helpful in this particular opportunity as well. But it's just really nice, as Javier talks about. Sometimes we are conveners, we bring people in, and it's infectious, right? Once you see somebody do it, again, it's not just about us making change in our sport, but it's really about the whole sports ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Nadia. I just want to go back to one other point regarding NHL Bound, and there was I'm not sure which of the 2 coaches, if it was Dante Abercrombie or Nathaniel Brooks, they mentioned the idea of them serving as a coach will help provide some comfort and let's call it a safe space for potential players, knowing that if they are able to see a coach on the sideline, it would be more inclined to not only participate in sport, just give them a better chance of success. So, Kwame, would you like to talk about that point?
Yeah, that was Dante. One of the things that, if you look at the history and the background of the game of hockey, a lot of players of color have had some really rough times. I'll take it back to the 70s. A player by the name of Mike Marsden, who was a high draft pick, actually the very first player of color to play for the Washington Capitals, also the second player of color to play in the National Hockey League, followed by Willie O'Ree, who broke that barrier in 1958. He's a friend here in Toronto, and he used to tell me all the time how difficult it was for him in Washington because he really didn't have anyone he can relate to. He was getting death threats. He was getting chirped at. He was getting called the N-word from left, right, and center. And, as a young 18, 19-year-old who's just for the first time left Canada and is living in the United States, that's very hard to deal with. And it would be great to be able to have somebody that was there that can actually say to him, hey, man, let's talk. Let's talk about what you're going through. Let's relate this and let's keep it moving forward. And so with, excuse me, the ringing in the background, I apologize. But the great thing about having guys like Dante and Nathaniel is when they go back and they're working in their communities as coaches, they're able to relate to players of color. Nathaniel Brooks, he coaches for a university here in Toronto, and he is able to coach 5 black players. And those guys, and I know them all, and they all say that's one of the greatest things is to be able to have a person of color that can relate to them when they need somebody to talk to. So that's why, again, it's very important for us to become more inclusive in the coaching realm of hockey.
Yes. So Nadia mentioned earlier about some of the other programs that the Coyotes are working with, and I think that may kind of segue for us to bring Mark into the conversation. And so we're talking about people of color, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and getting them involved in the great game of hockey. But there's more roles than just coaching. There's more roles than playing. So there are other careers that someone can pursue, particularly if they're a sports fan. So, Mark, can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with the Coyotes to introduce people of color to not only hockey but sports in general?
Absolutely. I think one of the things when you talk about students who are interested in this idea of sport management and getting a degree in sport management and working in this industry of sport, you get a couple of answers. One is, hey, what do you want to be? And they all want to pick the GM of their favorite team. It's like there's one of those in the world. And 9 times out of 10, it circles around basketball and football, because that's what students know and that's what they think about. And then secondly, it's like, I don't know that there's other jobs out there. And that's part of the educational process. So what we started with our sport management, sport marketing company was a program called DREAM, and it's about diversity, inclusion, and equity for students of color. And our main focus in our current program right now is centered around students at HBCUs, because we found that as we look across the board, if you look at the funding for HBCUs, they lack in funding. Some of the programs that had the one-on-one funding that was written to law, where federal government gives you X amount of dollars, state's supposed to match, it hasn't been matched. So if you don't have the dollars to have the right instructors, you don't have the programs in place, and there's only about 20% of the HBCUs that actually have sport management programs. So again, through the power of sport, knowing and understanding how important and impactful that can be for students. If you look across the landscape, I think NBA, I had my little chart up earlier. If you look at the C-suite and vice presidencies of major leagues, the NBA is the best with 24% of people of color in those positions. Some of the history hasn't even been done on the NHL, and we can tell right now that there's only one, and it's Xavier. And so we're looking to increase and impact that space with more people of color to understand the game of hockey. I was lucky I grew up playing the game of hockey, but as I spoke with Xavier and team before, what pulled me away was my friends playing basketball, and that was easier for me in terms of representation and people that looked like me to go to a sport that was more representative of me. And so now what we've done with the DREAM program is that we reach out to students. We do an online program of educating students from HBCUs on sport management, what that really looks like. And we partnered with the Coyotes this last semester and allowed the students to do a project with them. Coyotes presented us with a business problem. We broke the students up into groups and gave them the opportunity to kind of work through some of that with their thoughts and ideas. And back to Kwame's point, if you have diverse thought from people that have never been to a game, sometimes you get some really good nuggets of information in terms of, from a business standpoint, what we can do as an organization to make that better. back to Javier's bravery to step into that and allow our students to do that and taking the step to do that. So our program had 26 students enrolled this last semester that represented 16 different HBCUs, and we were able to bring out 7 students that represented 5 different HBCUs to actually get on ground, meet in networks with the Coyote staff, and talk about how to make a pathway to a career in sport in something like hockey. Get away from basketball. NBA's not going to call you. Get away from the NFL. They're not going to call you either. But there's people that like the NHL that is looking for people of color to be part of the organization. So let's find ways and pathways to get the students into those. And Javier and team and the Coyotes, they were great. That throughout their 10-week Zoom calls, I think the Coyotes staff jumped in 2 or 3 times to help walk the students through whether they gave them information or they just had conversations about some of the ideas that the students had. And it was great to actually get them here on staff. They had an opportunity. They spent 2 or 3 hours with Kwame, really digging in on the history of African Americans in the sport. And so we not only grew 7 hockey fans, but we grew 7 young people who are really interested in now pursuing a career in the industry of hockey.
Can I just add into a little bit of what Mark was saying? Why me as a Canadian is so impressed. Again, when I started to get into this hockey space, one of the things I always said was we need to look at the college and university kids of color, especially the HBCUs, because of the simple fact that, okay, they're not going to be NHL players. They're not going to probably put on some skates and play the game of hockey. But there is so many different ways to make an impact. And like I told Mark's students, I said to them, the NHL needs you more than you need the NHL. They will take you and take your ideas and help grow the game. They are so important. I've been preaching to anybody who would listen to me for the last couple of years about being able to reach out to HBCU schools and actually bring them in their organization. So once again, I know I'm tooting Javier's horn again and the Coyotes, but kudos, man. Like, I've been trying to tell people to do this for so long, and for the Arizona Coyotes to just pick it up and just do it is amazing, because what we're going to see is kids that are going to say to themselves, hey, you know what? Here's a new challenge. Here's a different path for me. Why don't I just try this out? And those kids are going to have a different opportunity. And lastly, I will say this. Our people have always put ourselves in a box. Okay. When I grew up, hockey was considered the white boy sport. Heavy metal and rock and roll was for white boys. And that's so wrong. I mean, we should be a part of everything. And this generation of kids know that. So now we have to be more inviting of the game of hockey to say, come in, let us welcome you. There's an opportunity here. And once we do that, these kids are going to take advantage of it. And I'm really excited to see what happens in the future. So kudos to Javier and kudos for Mark and Nadia and bringing all that together. I'm so impressed.
Got it. Mark, go ahead, Nadia. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was going to take it in a little different of a direction here, because I'm so excited, and I was very, again, proud and thrilled to be part of both of these programs. But I think that the key to lasting change and the realization of our values as an organization goes beyond programs and initiatives, right? I think we also need to focus on, and I mentioned it earlier, on building impact enterprises. So what is that, right? So an impact enterprise to me is an organization from the very top to the very bottom is cultivating awareness and a sense of responsibility in the very DNA of the organization, and across all functions of the organization, not just in one program, in one office. And so it's an organization that empowers its employees to innovate in their own space, right? So the DREAM program actually came to us through one of our VPs in sales, who happens to know Mark, and he brought the idea up. And so we embraced it and encouraged it. And so it's about holding our employees and ourselves accountable for the very identity of our organizations. The programs and the initiatives are just they're an expression of our values, right? These are the outcomes of who we are. But Javier talked about earlier, you can sense the sense of entrepreneurship spirit that is here in the Coyotes, that if you bring it up, we should be an organization, and organization should be, let's do it, right? And so employees should be almost afraid to bring something up, because we're gonna do it. So if you bring it up, you better be ready to go. And so these programs, to me, that's what they're about. It's about the Coyotes, and not just us, because other organizations are coming along, and I'm sure other organizations are doing as great a work as we are. But it's about us being aware that there still is change to be had. It's about us taking responsibility for that change. It's about us co-innovating. It's about holding ourselves accountable, and accountable to our fans and to our communities, and about having that entrepreneurial spirit. So I love these programs. I just want us to be cognizant that in order for us to have these programs, you have to have the ecosystem, you have to have the leadership, you have to have the mindset, and the commitment, right, to have the organization that's who you are as an organization.
Excellent points, Nadia. That, just to reiterate, if this is the culture, the mindset of the people, the programs will manifest from that culture. So excellent point, and thank you for sharing that.
Jerry, let me throw in something here that I think is also very important. Kwame, you and Javier have done one heck of a job in terms of NHL Bound and so forth, but more people need to know this. I mean, I think that the general public has to be educated. What kind of media attention have you gotten as a result of this? Which should be front page stories as far as I'm concerned. But what kind of media attention, and does that bring more, Javier, from your position as an executive in the National Hockey League with the Coyotes? Have any of your Padres in other teams and so forth, have they approached you about how do you get this started, and what can we do with this and so forth?
Well, George, I really appreciate your comments, and that's why I was so excited to come and talk with you and talk with all your members, because the reality is, as my general manager, Bill Armstrong, says, we have to share the goodness, right? These are all things that are really powerful, not just for us, not just for hockey, but for our community and for our society, to talk about empowerment in every corner of our community. And the short answer is, we had some media attention, but not enough, number one, and not in every part of the community, right? What I loved about the Dream program, of the many things, was a recent note I received from one of the young women that we brought them to see our last game. And for every one of them, it was their first hockey game. Every single one of them. And to a person, they just lost it. They were like, this is amazing. This is incredible. But this young woman said, but it was made possible by someone who made us feel like you wanted us there. You wanted us, you welcomed us, you supported us. You didn't make it feel like we were the other. You just made it feel like we should be a part of it. So much so, she actually reached out. She says, now I'm interested in working at a hockey club.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for. And that's what it's got to be about. It can't just be us talking to people who would think about hockey. I talk a lot about, we have a rabid fan base here in Arizona and in hockey generally. We need to go to the fans in waiting. We need to go to, using the Wayne Gretzky line, let's go to where the puck is going. And where's the puck going in America? Young, female, diverse, purpose-driven, tech-savvy. We need to go there. What I would ask is, everybody listening to this, we need your help. Because we absolutely want to bring everything we're doing and every part of all the opportunities we're creating to everybody. That's the core of inclusion to us. Yes, it's putting diverse voices at the seat of decision making, but it's also literally including the entire community. And so, George, to your point, we need more. We need to share this more. NHL Bound, hit ESPN Plus after we, for lack of a better word, right, Kwame, we sort of shamed ESPN into putting it on. Right?
Yeah.
We're like, what are you doing? This is absolutely the message that should be getting out. And you know what? They were like, you're right. And next thing you know, it's on their streaming platform. But we need more. We need more voices out there. We need more attention to all of these efforts because it's good. It's good business, right? But it's the right thing to do as well. And that's what I really enjoyed and appreciated about what the Urban League does, because you in many similar ways do what we do. We convene people. We bring people from all the different aspects and we say these are good things. And so I would ask everyone who is watching this, first, watch the program. Watch NHL Bound. Second, support the program. Share it, right? Share NHL Bound. Don't think that it's just, as Kwame says, it's someone else's sport. It's someone else's experience. We are trying to open our doors and extend our hand to everybody and say, you are who we're looking at. You are who we want at the table. We want you all, George, just like you and Jerry were watching the hockey game and getting all excited and animated. That's what we want. We want to say, this is you. You belong here. And it's going to be our job to make sure you feel welcome.
And I would say too, and I would say also that, to your point, George, we could have done a better job of promoting NHL Bound. The one thing that I was very blessed to have when I put out Soul on Ice, again, this is more my radio background. I knew I couldn't just talk to I couldn't just preach to the choir, and I had a very good publicist, and they got me on the Tom Joyner show. Now, we don't have the Tom Joyner show here in Canada, but I know how big and important that is in the United States. And the amount of people that heard my story and checked out my documentary was very interesting. I think there's still this stigma in our community, in the Black and the Latino community in the United States, that you will find someone saying, oh, Black people play that game, Latinos play that game or watch that game. And we have to crush that mindset. So we do need your help. For example, for the Urban League, when we reach out and say, hey, how do we get our message across? We're hoping that you'll be able to say to us, you know what, you need to contact this person, you need to contact that person, and we'll help you spread that word out, because we can't just talk to the choir. We have to talk to more people that are out there of color to let them know how great this game is. And I hope that in the future, one of the missions that I want to be able to do throughout the 32 teams is to go into minority communities and invite a group of people of color who have never been to the game and take them in to the belly of the beast and watch a hockey game for the very first time and just have those conversations. And I can talk your ears off, as you can tell. And when it comes to that game of hockey, I'm so passionate about that. I guarantee you I can sell this game. So to all your listeners, let me know. Holler at your boy. I'll come out there and we go to a game together, okay? Trust me. You'll love it after you watch it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I just, as you were talking, I just pulled up the Soul on Ice, so I dropped the link and the title in the chat, and just looking from it is available on every platform you can imagine. So if you have any sort of streaming device, you should be able to gain access to watching Soul on Ice.
So let me just tell your audience this one thing. As a person of color, as a Black male in this world, people have to understand with the game of hockey, Black people have been playing this game of hockey since the 1800s. The Underground Railroad came to Canada, and those underground, those slaves that came to Canada, they migrated to Nova Scotia, and they played the game of hockey. The very first organized sport for Black people was hockey, and you'll see that in my documentary.
Oh, interesting. Definitely looking forward to watching that, to add on to the NHL Bound program. We are coming close to time. Just wanted to give everyone in the audience an opportunity to ask any questions of our guests. So if you do have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. We will bring it up on screen, and you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. As we give them a chance to come up with their questions, and again, trying to be respectful of everyone's time. So I'm not going to look to prolong this any further. But Mark, I did have a question for you. I am a graduate of HBCU, the Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia. I know we do have a sports marketing program. I believe it's a master's level degree. Did you happen to have any participants from Virginia State University? And if not, why don't we get favoritism?
My internet was. My internet was out. Were you? Was that
Oh
geared
man,
towards
my
me?
time.
Whoa.
Oh man.
Mark, Gary was asking, how come you biased against Virginia State, HBCU students? That's what he's trying to figure out. So
Yeah, I want to make.
Hey, they've got to show up and be engaged. And, I send out to everybody, and the students, all they have to do is say, yes, I'm committed. And then it's about getting the students out here. So it was open. We had, I had to talk to your team and talk to the alumni, see if they get part of the program. But hey, no, really, this program really it doesn't work without support with organizations like the Coyotes. And I think Kwame and I have been talking about how do we fit this with the NHL. And there's some interest because it is about providing those opportunities and pathways of opportunity. And like they were saying, the students that showed up, I think 3 of them was their first time on an airplane. 2 others were, first generation college students. And it's just about opening the door of opportunity for those that probably never had it before. And so this is what this is about, because there's only way to move up an organization if you get the door open for you to at least present yourself as somebody as competent and willing to put in that time and effort.
Certainly. Well, I'll make it my mission to do some outreach to my alma mater to make sure that when the opportunity presents itself, Virginia State University will be present and engaged in this program. Again, out in the audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We're going to wrap up in just a moment. But wanted to, I guess we'll take a moment to give everyone a chance for some closing thoughts. And then if there are any questions that pop up in the chat, we'll just kind of circle back to it.
Okay. Nadia, why don't you start?
Yeah, thank you. So again, I think for me, it really all comes back to that bigger, motivation, having very clear and unwavering values on who we are as organizations, who we're willing to partner with, and really being fearless, right? And again, it starts from the top. So organizations need to make decisions on who they want in their leadership, because it all trickles down and the opportunities come, right? We want organizations to, when these opportunities come, jump right on them, but we can't do that until we have organizations that live, breathe, and embody values around diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's to me the overarching theme.
Mm-hmm. Mark?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to top that, because I agree, and I think it's more of people and communities moving together forward. I think what I've found so far in this work, there's a lot of us that are dedicated and passionate about making sure that the diverse voices are heard. They're in a position where they can make change and have impact, and we're all swimming in the lane. We just got to make sure we know who's to our left and our right, that we can do this together, because it will take effort from everybody to ensure that we move forward in the idea of diversity and inclusion, being inclusive with all. So I can't echo more than what Nadia said. I agree.
Okay.
Kwame, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would just last like to say thank you all for allowing me to be here, and thank you to the Arizona Coyotes for allowing me to present and create. The main goal for me as a creative, as a person of color, as a person who loves the game of hockey and loves directing and filmmaking and documentaries, is normalizing minority faces and voices. That is going to be the way we make this game more inclusive. That's the way that our children from Canada to the United States will also look at the game of hockey as another opportunity, be it as an athlete or as a job and a career. And I just hope that you all will continue your support with the Urban League and continue your support with the Arizona Coyotes. And let's do something different in this world.
Thank you so much, Kwame. Javier?
Well, first, George, Jerry, thank you so much. You guys have become such good friends and obviously big supporters of everything that we're doing. And I just want to thank you for all your leadership and everything that you all do in this community with the Urban League. We've had many conversations about our shared values around the importance of empowerment and of giving opportunity to so many. So thank you for allowing us to be here. And then I think, as you heard today, really, if it's one thing, what you've heard is a strong commitment on our part to really be focused on impact. Everything that we do has a concentric circle around that. And to us, impact includes this opportunity to bring more people into our sport, into sports generally, as athletes, as coaches, as business leaders. The importance of sports to commerce and to culture and to community is just so evident every single day. And we take our responsibility very, very seriously. And I think it's something that Nadia mentioned, we can only do this in partnership with others. At the end of the day, sports convenes and inspires and brings hope and joy, but it's really in the part of a part of our community. And so we hope that everyone who has heard these words knows that we have a strong commitment, but we also ask for your help, and we ask for your partnership, and we ask that you really, really think about us, and that we're top of mind when you're thinking about a partner that is focused on inclusion, that's focused on being innovative, and that is focused on having an impact. So thank you again, and hopefully this is an ongoing dialogue. That this isn't the last conversation we have, because this isn't the last effort that we're going to be focused on.
Definitely, Javier. You can rest assured the Greater Phoenix Urban League will be along beside you as we continue down this effort of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just bringing more people into not only the sport but the industry as well. So consider us a trusted partner. We will be alongside you along the way. I want to thank all of before I yield the floor to President George Dean for final thoughts, just wanted to thank everyone out in the audience for joining us today. Our panelists, Mark, Kwame, Nadia, Javier, we greatly appreciate you sharing part of your evening with us. Again, out in the audience, I want to remind you, our annual golf tournament is our one of two largest fundraisers that we put on each year, which dollars go directly to funding our various programs, from workforce development, small business entrepreneurship, early childhood education, housing program, young professionals, and everything under the sun that the Greater Phoenix Urban League is a part of. So I want to thank you all for joining us today, and yield the floor to President George Dean for some final thoughts. Take it away, George.
Well, I'll make mine short since we're running out of time, but just remember, together, we make a difference. So we are working together. We still have a lot of problems with our society and so forth. We're still trying to get on equal footing and so forth. So together we make a difference. Stay with us. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next month on Meet the Leaders.